Good morning. This is going to be a fairly long-winded video. I am going to actually add this to a YouTube channel as well as Instagram TV. I originally wanted to make it nice and fast, but I have too much content to cover in the matter of 2 to 3 minutes. This is going to be detailing and covering my weight loss journey of where I went from 195 pounds in April to 162 pounds in the first week of February. So it's about a 33 pound weight loss. During that journey, I learned a lot. It was a nice little fun experiment, and I've got about 10 guidelines that hopefully can help other people. But before I get to those guidelines, I have two disclaimers. Disclaimer one is that these are things that worked for me. If I've learned anything, it's that everyone is different, and what worked for me might not necessarily work for someone else, especially one tip that I'm going to give people. It might be a little mind-blowing. Disclaimer two, keeping with what worked for me, is my metabolism is something that's been built over the course of my lifetime, and that's a lifetime of activity. For the most part, I've been active my entire life. I probably haven't missed a workout in like 3 years. So I think that's very important to understand. So, as part of this journey, I started at 195 in April. My weight came off fairly easily the first few months, where I wasn't even dieting per se. I basically just stopped eating like a damn slob. So I went from 195 to about 185 over the course of about 4 or 5 months, just, again, not eating like a slob. When I started this true weight loss, I was 184 pounds. So I think that's important to remember. And that started about 11 weeks before February, right? I went from 184 to about 162 over the course of 11 weeks, which falls in line with the recommendation and expectation of losing 1 to 2 pounds per week, okay? So I was 184 and then roughly 15% body fat 11 weeks prior to February. Before I sat down and did this, I mapped out some goals. So that's my first tip, is have some goals. During these goals, have a timeline. For me, my timeline was perfect because I had to weigh in at a certain weight, which was under 165 pounds, before my meet, which was February 8th, right? During that timeline, I also set mini goals, all right? For instance, by the end of December, I wanted to be 175 pounds. By the end of February, I wanted to be 170 pounds or 169 pounds, which would leave me with a 4-pound water cut. Right, so I had these little mini markers that helped guide me to my end goal, and I think that's important for psychological reasons. And the last tip with regards to goals is write them down, make them concrete. It definitely holds you much more accountable. My next tip is super important in terms of psychological reasons, right? And I've seen it here at the gym. Start to think of weight and body fat as a range. You are never specifically one weight. You're never 162 pounds. Likewise, I wasn't truly 195 pounds. You always exist on a range of weight. Perfect example. You weigh in at night, let's say you're 185 pounds. The very next morning, you weigh in at 182 pounds. Which one are you? Neither. You're a range. So anytime I weigh in, I always think of myself as I could be 2 pounds above that, I could be 2 pounds lower than that. And I think that's important when you're weighing yourself on a weekly basis, as I was doing during my weight loss journey. I'd weigh in, and if I lost 3 pounds in 1 week, the following week I might only lose a half a pound. That's because on the original week, I was on the bottom end of my range, the bottom end of my spectrum. Another example of this is how we fluctuate is the week of my meet, right? On Monday, I took my body fat and I was 9.1% body fat. 5 days later, the morning of my meet, I was 7.3% body fat. So did I lose 2% body fat in a matter of a week? No, not really. My water dehydration affected my numbers, And again, 7.3% was the lowest range of my body fat. In all actuality, I was probably about 8 to 9% body fat for the most part. All right, so that's important. Tip number three, stop rushing through diets. As I see with people, they do these 10-day cleanses, 2-week cleanses, even these 30-day things. When I was in college doing my master's, one tip that stuck with me from a professor is that they say it takes 40 days to kill a fat cell. I don't know if that's a fact. This is purely off me remembering what my professor said. So 40 days to kill a fat cell. If you're just dieting for 3 weeks, to cram for something, I don't know, whatever, a vacation or something, and then you go back to eating like shit, guess what? You just blow back up again. And we hear it all the time about how people kind of just get heavy again after that. Stop with like the yo-yo diets, trying to rush into things. All right, tip number 4. And it's not necessarily a tip, it's just what I did, right? I never did an ounce of cardio. Like, nothing. All right? When I'm talking to people, the first thing they say is, yeah, I think I need more cardio. I think I need more cardio, right? So I'm a perfect example of that you don't need cardio, right? And I don't work out 6 or 7 days a week either. During this journey, I worked out 3 times a week. 3, right? The workouts were long. They were 2 to 2.5 hours, 3 times a week, but I never did any cardio. I didn't do any high intensity training. I didn't do any sled sprints, right? The only thing I did was power lift, okay? So the fact that people are always like, oh, I need more cardio, I need more cardio. You don't need cardio, or some people do. Let me correct that. Some people do, right? But let me tell you, diet is so much more important than the actual person is willing to admit, all right? Number 5, nutrition, and this is going to go in a million different directions. Start with protein. I think that's the simplest thing, right? Eat roughly your body weight in grams of protein, right? So, at the time I was 180 pounds, I shot for 180 grams of protein a day. Some people are like, oh, well, should I shoot for a lower number on non-workout days? I don't know. I kept it simple. 180 grams every single day. Can you cycle or fluctuate your intake based on your exercise and activity level? Sure, but excess protein is never a terrible thing, all right? From there, it was eat real food when you're eating your protein, all right? The real food has to be chicken, red meat, real sources of protein, all right? This comes straight from Stand Up for Things vertical diet. Eat more red meat, right? So steak, burgers. I was eating burgers 1 to 2 times a week. I would prepare steak for the entire week and have steak another 2 to 3 times a week along with my chicken. Can you get the fuck out of here? I'm trying to have a serious video.